So good to see some familiar faces in the audience and know that I've got the rest of the weekend to catch up with you. And to kick off your weekend, we have for you the 25th reunion class panel. And my partner in putting together this panel this year was Randy Forbes. Many of you knew them. And Randy put together our 20th reunion class panel. I think many of you attended and enjoyed. And he came up with our theme this year, which is the view from the top of the hill. Sadly, Randy passed away in July when his cancer returned, and we all miss him very much. So now we begin our panel today. I have the pleasure of introducing to you Ian Cameron. Ian is a senior producer for ABC World News Tonight and living in Washington, D.C. right now. Ian has led coverage in Washington for important events such as 9/11, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and also the presidential election. And here today, he's here to lead our class panel. Ian?
Welcome to the class of '83, class when a president thought tomato ketchup was a vegetable. Boy George was a cultural icon. Yes, it was great years. As I said, we're not on the over the hill, we're at the top of the hill. And I think we can take certain pride that when we were at Stanford, we didn't need bike lanes on campus. And then wait for overpasses and interchanges. I'm sort of thinking about this panel and some themes of what this might mean to you, what this stage of your life might mean to you. And here are a couple of thoughts. See if you can recognize them. If you do, you're smarter than me. Is there something I should know? Is it a mad world? Should I save it for later? Am I talking in my sleep? Do I want to rebel yell? I have the power and the passion. A lot of fascination. Maybe I just got lucky, and I'm committed. Those are some of the titles of some of the top 40 songs in our year. This is a unique moment because we are a group of people with actually a shared experience. We graduated from Stanford 25 years ago, but we are going through many of the same experiences in our lives. Taking stock of where we've been and where we're going. Wondering whether we've got the right work-life balance. Wondering whether we've given back enough to our nation, our community, our society, or maybe in the last couple of weeks whether we've given ourselves enough. And facing the challenge of aging parents and growing children. So we're going to cover those topics, hopefully with some humor. I want to invite all of you to raise your hand and ask questions at any time. I want this to be as free-flowing as can be. Panel starting on my right with Bill, going down the line. Basically, what dorm did you live in when you, I guess as a freshman? What song, since I raised it, what song do you hear on the radio now that reminds you of Stanford? Where you live now? And the biggest lesson you've learned in the 25 years since leaving Stanford?
I was in Rinconada as a freshman. And there we go. Well represented here today. Anytime I hear, and I don't hear it very often, but anytime I hear anything by Molly Hatchet or the Marshall Tucker Band, I think back to the dorm because the guys on the third floor, and they remember this, I'm sure, played that far too loudly. And the women on the second floor really didn't like it. I currently live in North Little Rock, Arkansas, 6 blocks from where I grew up. My father is still in that house, which is great because he gets to see his 9th grandchild anytime he wants. And the lesson, I guess, is this, that if anybody asked me at any point over the last 25 years to make a prediction what I would be doing 5 years from that point, I would have gotten the answer wrong every single time. There was not a single time where I could have predicted out accurately 5 years in advance. And that has been particularly driven home lately because, unlike all of you, I got started really late, so I have a 2-year-old daughter. And if I didn't know that lesson before, I will guarantee you I know it now.
I lived in Cedro, which was a 4-class dorm, so we're probably not very well represented here, but Steve Mitchell and I discovered that we were in the same freshman dorm. Steve actually remembered better than I did, so. Anyone else here from Cedro? Yeah. So songs, I guess you can't help but, when you hear All Right Now, of course, that's one of the songs that we all probably remember. And just a couple of songs that my girlfriends and I sang at the dorm late at night. Back on the Chain Gang by the Pretenders for no apparent reason, but we liked it. So. And I live in Tortola Valley, about 10 minutes from here, just past Rosati's. And I actually drive through the campus almost every single day on the way to work. So I guess I take it for granted that we live in this beautiful place. I'm very thankful to be able to live in this beautiful area. And my parents, thankfully, live 10 minutes from me in Menlo Park. So I feel kind of like I'm back home. I think probably the biggest theme that's been for me all through my years since Stanford is that I shouldn't follow my head as much as my heart. Because I think times when I follow my head, usually it hasn't been the right decision for me, but when I do what I really want to do or what I really feel is going to make me happy, no matter how stupid it may seem, that's usually what's the best thing. So I say follow your heart.
I'm Alexander Payne. I lived in, I was in Slee in Florence, Florida, and lived in a laundrette. What else was it? Favorite song. Not about favorite, but whenever I hear the Talking Heads, like anything from Stop Making Sense or the Tom Tom Club, like the Words song, I remember people and I live in Los Angeles, California, but also have an apartment in my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, where my aging folks are still kicking around. I go back there a few times a year. Biggest life lesson, oh man, I have no idea.
Exactly. Freshman dorm, I lived in Junipero, and I loved it. As the Asian American Dean House, I stayed there for 3 years, and I just bonded with so many people, and I learned a lot of different Asian cultures. And my roommate was Chinese. We'd go home to her house, and everything, it was like being in a Chinese restaurant. Everything, and I was so amazed, and I loved it. I really did, and I picked up a lot of the cooking techniques. I still use them today. The song, "Living My Life Like It's Golden." And that's the lesson I've learned in the past 25 years, to live every day like it's your last, and try to live from the inside out, if that's at all possible, because a lot of times we allow the outside, all the environmental, external problems, to tamper with our inner peace. And if you're going to exert yourself on the world and try to do things the best you can, you've got to live from the inside out. Some psychology. I was with Zimbardo yesterday. So.
Okay, I lived in Larkin, and Marty Bean told me yesterday. Marty Bean told me that 50 of us are here from Larkin this year, so that's pretty cool. And also I will say that Bill and Steve and my husband Jack and I were all RAs our senior year in Robley, so that's another one. And I think the Journey song, "Don't Stop Believin'," is when I hear that, I think of Stanford. As well as What I Like About You, that one. And let's see, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that you never really know. I work with lots of foster kids and lots of teenagers who age out of the system and actually have improved their life one better than the generation before theirs, but they often then find themselves all alone in the world. And so there's a bunch of people in my personal life that still need a lot of support even after formal systems. And I think what I've learned is you never really know the difference you can make on somebody. One particular young man stands out in my mind that I really didn't think that I had much of a relationship, but he's actually been a person who's pulled on me and taught me things in his own very quiet, very shy way, and will probably be there. One day he said to me, you know, when you're an old lady and there's no one around to take care of you, I'll help you out. So I think you never know. Yes. Yeah. You know, you just really never know. I never now, from that moment on, take for granted that somebody that you might not even think you're touching, that you can end up touching. So that's nice.
I'm a Palomite. There, let me just take this opportunity to say, I never liked them. There, I said it. And sadly, the song that I remember most fondly about Stanford is My Sharona. And we got our freshman dorm, Paloma, who was up there. Proceeded to destroy the third row, and we were kicked out of the auditorium. So that was the net. I live in LA and love it. Been there 15 years now, or almost 20. And I would just say, life lessons, besides the fact of my policy in life, never wear clothes that are more interesting than yourself. Is, besides this, of course. Probably don't spend a lot of time planning stuff. Let it happen. There, I said it.
As Jocelyn told you, I lived in Cedro, which we were talking about is probably the weirdest freshman, or at that time, was one of the weirdest freshmen. It was 4 classes. There were only a smattering of freshmen, and it didn't have that feel of, I'm a college freshman. It's sort of like, where else can I go? But when we said that song, I was thinking, White Punks on Dope. And I actually owned a t-shirt at one time that said White Punks on Dope. Probably still have it. I live in San Francisco, where I just came from, and I'm heading back to, right after this school board retreat, where we'll probably do all sorts of trust-building exercises, balls and things.
Wear your white punks on, dope.
I will. Life lesson, you know, if you wake up in the middle of the night, it's after 2:30, just get up, get out of bed. You're not going to fall back asleep. Get something to do.
How many of you are basically doing what you wanted to do when you were at Stanford? I guess
That's why they're on the panel.